So far, this has been a pretty exciting offseason for Lakers fans, and the buzz around the team going into the season has been reminiscent of all the way back in the days when Kobe was leading the team to championships. The team has made a few big moves this summer to give LeBron James something to work with after a disappointing season last year, and overall things were looking bright in Hollywood. That is, until terrible news came in on Thursday that one of their big signings, Demarcus Cousins, tore his ACL during a workout, leaving him almost undoubtedly out for the entire season. This brings us to the topic of today's video, where I'll be discussing the ripple effect this injury will have in regards to his career moving forward, how it will affect the Lakers season, and how it will affect the league as a whole. Before we start though, make sure to subscribe to the channel as all support is very much appreciated. Now with that being said, let's begin. The sad and unfortunate demise of Demarcus Cousins began 2 seasons ago when he was playing for the New Orleans Pelicans. Alongside Anthony Davis, the two formed an incredibly impactful Twin Towers unit that created a ton of mismatches against smaller opponents because of their dynamic and multifaceted skill sets. Through 47 games that season, the team was in 6th place in the West, looking well on their way to a playoff berth, which would have been the first time Cousins would have ever experienced postseason basketball. Then, in a game against the Houston Rockets, all of it went out the window as he ruptured his Achilles, thus ending his season that year. Because of this injury, that offseason was an interesting one for him and left him with a very difficult choice. He was a free agent, and with the kind of resume that he had in the league, being arguably the best center at the time that put up massive numbers year in and year out, he was probably expecting to be offered a max contract. That didn't happen though, and the most he got offered was $20 million a year for 2 years by the New Orleans Pelicans. Teams were afraid of how the injury would affect his play on the court, and committing a max contract to someone that was set to miss half of the next season would have been a huge risk. Because of this, Cousins chose instead to sign a 1-year $5 million contract with none other than the Golden State Warriors in an attempt to ring chase and play his way back into the max contract conversation the following summer. As we all know now though, that plan didn't exactly work out well either. He played 30 regular season games in the second half of the season and was visibly not as good of a player in those games because the injury affected his mobility. Then, in just his second playoff game of his career, he tore his quad, which made him miss the next 2 rounds of the playoffs, and even when he rushed back and was able to play in the finals, he was a major negative in the time he spent on the court because he was very clearly not at 100% health. From there, all of you know the rest with how he signed with the Lakers and now suffered a torn ACL, which brings us to the main topic, being how will this affect his career moving forward? He's now suffered 3 major injuries in a 2-year span, and after passing up a $40 million contract last offseason, he may never see that much money thrown his way again unless he goes to China. His production in that span has been subpar. He's become a massive defensive liability because of his mobility struggles as a result of the injuries, and quite frankly, tearing his ACL is only going to make those woes worse. Additionally, Boogie will be 30 years old by the time he recovers, which is around the time players start to slow down anyway. In interviews, he has said that his previous injuries were really tough to deal with from a mental standpoint, but what got him to push through it was his chance to get back out on the floor and build his reputation back up. Now there's almost no doubt that this news is going to be even tougher for him to deal with mentally, and honestly you can't even blame him. Whether or not he even has the motivation to continue to pursue basketball is going to be something to watch as time passes, and retirement might become something he seriously considers. After all, his health should be the #1 priority, and whether or not he wants to continue to risk that for a game may not be a very appealing option to him. If he doesn't retire and attempts to make yet another comeback, then he'll likely be playing for minimum contracts from here on out. It always sucks to see a player so talented at their peak have their careers cut short because of injury, but it appears as if Boogie's name will be added to the list of those that this has happened to, unfortunately. The next aspect of this situation that I want to discuss is how it affects the team that he signed with, the Los Angeles Lakers. As I said at the start of the video, things were looking pretty bright for the team up until this point. They traded for superstar Anthony Davis to pair with LeBron James, signed sharpshooting and defensive specialist Danny Green to put on the wing, and the addition of Boogie was something they were hoping would work out in a similar way to how things went down in New Orleans, where him and Davis actually previously played together and found success. The hope was that after an offseason where Cousins could continue to rehab and regain the strength and agility that he lost last year, he could, to a degree, return to being a dominant inside-out big man that would create matchup nightmares on a nightly basis alongside LeBron and AD, and wreak some havoc. No other team in the West has that kind of size in their lineup, and they certainly would have been one of the favorites to make the finals from the West. Without Cousins this season, their lineup looks much different. LeBron, Davis, Danny Green, and Kyle Kuzma are probably locks to be in the starting lineup, but now the fifth spot is interesting. Anthony Davis has stated that he doesn't like playing center, so the team could start JaVale McGee at center, but that would make LeBron not only have to play point guard on offense, but also forces him to defend a guard on defense, and realistically, at this point in his career, he shouldn't be defending smaller, quicker players. They also have Rajon Rondo as an option, but at this point in Rondo's career, he rarely impacts games in positive ways, and lineups with him and LeBron sharing the court last year struggled mightily, so again, that's probably not a very good idea either. Their best bet is probably going with Avery Bradley as the fifth starter, as Bradley brings some much needed defense to this Lakers team and at least decent shooting. What will hurt this team the most is their bench depth, as Quinn Cook, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, JaVale McGee, Rajon Rondo, and Jared Dudley really won't be scaring any opposing teams. This brings us to the next point of emphasis I wanted to make in this video, being how does this team now compare to the other top teams in the West? Starting with their next door neighbors, the Clippers have the star power in Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, they have strong role players rounding out the starting lineup in Patrick Beverley, Landry Shamet, and Ivica Zubac, and they round out the rotation with what I believe to be the best bench in the NBA, led by two Sixth Man of the Year candidates in Lou Williams and Montrezl Harrell. They can mix and match numerous different lineups throughout games without seeing a major drop-off in talent, and as things are right now, they're probably the favorites in the conference. After that, though, the Lakers can still more than likely hang with the best of the rest. The biggest issue at this point will be some possible early struggles because of the fact that there are so many new faces on the team, and gelling together will take some time. However, in the same light that LeBron and Davis need to figure things out, the same can be said of another Western Conference powerhouse in the Rockets, who added Russell Westbrook to the team this summer. I'm actually a very strong believer in both duos of James and Davis and Harden and Russ, and think both will be highly productive as the season goes on. The Rockets as a whole, though, for the most part are returning most of the same team they had last year, and because of that, and their system finding so much success over the last 2 years, they probably have an edge over the Lakers, at least in the regular season. I'm not looking ahead to the postseason at this point because of how far away it is, but when it comes to the grind of regular season night in and night out, consistency does help. This also applies to the Denver Nuggets, who return mostly the same team that got the 2 seed last season, and because of that, plus some potential growth from their young stars Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray, I could also see them finishing with a better record in the regular season at least. The fourth spot in the standings that gives a team home court advantage in the first round of the playoffs will likely go to either the Lakers, Warriors, or the Jazz, and for the Lakers to get it, it will ultimately have to come down to how healthy the team is throughout the season and just how well LeBron and Anthony Davis gel. Overall, it sucks that Boogie just can't catch a break lately, and now his career is seemingly up in the air, but the Lakers should still be in good hands this season. And with that being said, that's all I have for you today. Make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel, and comment down below your thoughts on the situation. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.